Nubook 1, From Then to Now, Part 33. Rebazar was smiling at me, and I knew why. I did so much better this time with him, I said. He softly laughed, and then bowed and walked down the beach until he disappeared. "Hello, Sonia, did you miss me?" I said, as she laughed and then hugged me. "Of course I did, you beautiful boy." We finished the night in the tree house, discussing the book and being happy with our place in life. For several weeks we continued the same routine with the children. Susan was helping to teach the class much of the time with Sonia, which gave me more time to write. The children had learned a lot from their real experiences, and they were far beyond their grades for their age. One day, while the class was taking place, Mr. and Mrs. Hastings came in with several of the parents and sat in the back of the class. I was in my room writing, and I didn't know they were there. Sonia was talking to the class about something in history, and I could hear her from my room. One of the children was sharing their real experience about how they had gone to the Cloud City and researched something from the history files. Then I heard a parent say very loud, "See, I told you, they are not teaching from the school books. They have taught our children about strange and evil things." Then I heard Dr. Hastings telling the parents to calm down, and that he would have a talk with Sonia. I immediately came out and wanted to see who was in the room. There were several parents with Mr. and Mrs. Hastings, and they didn't look happy. I was to find out later that one of the parents, Mrs. Beacon, had talked with her son and found out what we were teaching the children. I also found out she was very religious, and anything that did not agree with what she understood her religion to be was of a demonic nature to her. She had a lot of influence in the community, and she was more than willing to use it. "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Hastings. Can I be of some assistance to you?" I said, suddenly recalling the inner experience with the dark side. "We have a concern with a few of the parents about what you have been teaching the children, Mr. Goldenwing. Are you teaching from the appropriate material that has been provided to you?" he asked very politely. I wanted to be honest with him. I did start off using the books that were here, but then I discovered that the children were more aware than what was being provided for them, so I began to test them to find out what would match their abilities. I found they each had a unique awareness to find the answers for themselves, and to excel further along without the use of the provided written material. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Hastings didn't say anything for several moments. I could see they were wondering what to do themselves. They would even look at each other and smile a little, as though they approved. Then Mrs. Beacon stood up with a rather stern look on her face and said, "Well, if you are not going to do anything about what's going on here, then I will. My husband is an attorney, and we will see you in court, where justice will be served." Then she forcibly called to her daughter, "Melissa, come here right now. We are going home this instant," she said in a real demanding voice. Melissa stood a little frozen for a moment, and then said, "But, Mother, I like what I am learning, and I don't want to leave. Mr. Goldenwing is a wonderful teacher, and so is Mrs. Sonia, and I want to stay here with my friends. We are leaving, Melissa, right now, and so let's go," she demanded sternly. Melissa slowly stood up and walked over to her mother with her head hanging down. Then the other parents took their children also. After they had left, Mr. and Mrs. Hastings came up to the front of the class. "I can see that you are doing a fine job with the children, Mr. Goldenwing. Our son really likes your class, and we can tell that he is so much better at so many things in his life, especially being happier within himself. If you have a magic that we don't know about, I think that it's great," he said, and then shook my hand. "I didn't want to bring Mrs. Beacon here, and I tried to talk her out of it, but she's very religious, and likes things to be according to what she believes. To be honest with you, I don't know where these religious people get their ideas from. Sometimes I think they just like to control others," he said, as his wife nodded her head in agreement. "Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Hastings, for being so considerate. I'm glad to see there are some people who understand there is more than one way to teach the children and what they will be using in their life. Please come by any time to see how your child is doing," I said. "Thank you again for all you've done for our son," he said, as he and his wife left. I was a little discouraged, and then Sonia came over to me. "It's to be expected, Goldie. They fear what they don't understand, because they won't take the time to understand. Give it time, and things will change," she said. "It's okay. I knew that something was coming, because I saw it on the inner, but I didn't see that it would affect the children. If it were only me, it wouldn't matter, but these children are the magic that makes all things possible here," I said, feeling a little weak. "What the parents are saying doesn't really affect the children, Goldie. They can still go to their other worlds any time they want to, without the permission of their parents," she said softly. "Yes, you're right. Nothing can stop them from having their own life the way they want it. I know that so well. What I have learned here from these children is a real treasure, and what they have learned for themselves is something wonderful they will always have to expand upon. What has been presented to them they would probably not find anywhere else, I said. They have all benefited, and they know what to do with what they know. You'll see. This is like a test of strength for them, and us too, she said, and then gave me a kiss on the cheek. I knew she was right, and that all would be fine. We continued to teach the rest of the children as usual. Those that were removed by their parents did not return to class. I also found out that Mrs. Beacon had a lot of friends and plenty of influence in the town. After a day or so, I think the whole town knew about what took place. Rosa came by one evening to bring us something to eat, and told us about the latest gossip that was going around. People are saying the funniest things about you and what you are teaching the children, Goldie. Mrs. Beacon got the parents and children together to have the children tell everything that was taught and told to them. They have created their own strange interpretation of what you taught them. It's quite obvious that Mrs. Beacon has a cause to live out in her life, and she seems to be dead set on doing it. I think she is just a lot of hot air, and that she may succeed a little with all the noise she is making with some people, but that's about it, said Rosa. It is all very interesting about what is taking place, but I'm not so much concerned over what people think. I've encountered so many who think the same thing about what I have presented. This is just a bigger test for me, because now I'm in a bigger town with more people. Anyone can find out what I am presenting. As usual, people listen to the minds of others instead of their own heart and being, and then they become lost to what life is trying to show them. This is a good example of something that has real value, and people jumping to conclusions before they have done any investigating at all. They are only led by their minds, and what the Dark Shadow told me he would do, and that is turn people against me. It's okay, it's all part of what has to be, I said. You did what your heart guided you to do, Goldie. The children will always carry with them the knowledge you provided. I can see that what you did was a great gift, and who else would have done it? You took the risk, and did something wonderful, said Sonia. I love teaching the real knowledge of life. I will continue to do so, no matter what the outcome of this situation reveals, I said. Let's enjoy the times we have together, and let the world wait, said Sonia, as we laughed together. I can see the wisdom of what Shiz did for me. I know that I would have survived what is taking place, but it is so much better with my real friends. After dinner, all of us walked back to our places. That night Sonia and I just lay in our bed and talked a little about all that had happened so far in our relationship. We will have to deal with this same issue many times over, Goldie, because of how people were taught and raised. The systems on this earth will only decline, as it is more than evident by what most people blindly follow. The established orders from those in control will never change, and we know this. Shiz also told me about your future life here, and it will be a lot worse then, so you are preparing yourself for the bigger confrontation to come. I look at how we are providing this opportunity right now for the children, and what they have learned so far. I wish that I would have had these experiences and known more about them when I was young, said Sonia. You're so right. I wonder how many people in the world do not know about their real awareness. Probably millions. We will have plenty to do this life, Sonia, and that's for sure, I said as I held her. Then we went to sleep and found ourselves on our favourite beach. After a few moments, Rebazar walked up and sat on the sand. We sat beside him, because I knew that he was going to tell us something. And so we listened. The time has come for the world to know what you know, Goldie. You have gone through the various stages to get to where you are now in your own unfoldment. From the limited view that is developed by living on the earth, you will surpass yourself because of what you are about to go through. Mrs. Beacon is simply part of the process that life brings to your attention to learn from and to build your strength. She is only being herself at this time, and what she has learned so far. It is a test and training for her also, but she doesn't know that yet, because she is allowing her mind and senses to rule at this time, and not her heart. You can see all you will be going through as an observation to become more aware and capable by. Every being that has come from the great reality must go through the trials and errors of its own awareness. The world is full of people who consider goodness and being right to be the ultimate goal that life has to offer, but they are only the small steps that lead to the real awareness and the secret knowledge of being isness that surpasses the mind altogether. You are among very few who will continue to explore the unknown until it becomes known to you. Mrs. Beacon is an example of a person that is afraid of losing her position, and others close to her, with what she has known in her mind. If she were to allow you to proceed with what you are doing, she would soon discover the beauty you are presenting, but it would be out of her control and reach. She has developed herself to be a certain way, and caters to her decisions and limitations. But do not be dismayed, because the true reality, the real light and sound that provides all the gifts to all, will come into the physical level another way, and provide for those who are willing. It is not limited by personal choice. It constantly seeks out to provide a real benefit, in spite of the resistance of the human mind. You have the heart to succeed, and that is all that matters. The illusions that are set forth by the people of Earth cannot stop the gifts of life from becoming so. There are many people who want to know the true reality life is, because they are not afraid to have it in their lives. Those who control others through their will and the written documentations that exist are afraid to divulge the truth about the true reality, because they want to maintain their control over others. This is what is referred to as the blind leading the blind. Your purpose is to let the world know about the real freedom of their real awareness. Then each person can decide for themselves the road they wish to take in their own life. You made the offer to the children, and they took advantage of what you provided. They are wise beyond their minds. Most children are into exploring, adventure, and a happiness that the conditioned person has forgotten and no longer pays attention to. Even when the situations you are going through look bad, just let them be. It's part of the process. You cannot expect to teach in the same classroom for the rest of your stay on Earth. Life has its own plans for you that will take you so much further than you could ever consider. You are headed in the right direction to expose what you are on Earth for. A person cannot be forced to look within themselves. The outer systems have brought the attention of those who are unaware of their own beingness. The average person waits to find out what someone else has decided, and then usually agrees, because so many others do, because they fear not to. It is the indifference to the secondary agreement that is necessary to be with the true reality, and be free from the invented effects that are projected by others. No one can find the true reality from another, or any written knowledge. They can only find it within themselves, after an honest effort has been made. said Rebazar. Then he was silent. I looked out over the water of the vast ocean, and considered what he had said. I lost myself in the light that was reflecting from the sun, and into my being. Then I was back in my bed with Sonia on Earth.